for the position of Associate Justice vacated by Justice Martin S. Villarama Jr., effective January 16 this year. Please introduce the applicants to the council.
Yes, Your Honors. Your Honors, the candidates to be interviewed this afternoon are former COA Commissioner, Attorney Maria Gracia M. Pulido Tan, currently a member of the United Nations Independent Audit Advisory Committee, New York, USA. Then we have Sandigan Bayan Associate Justice Alex L. Kiros. Then Court of Appeals Presiding Justice Andres B. Reyes Jr., and Court of Appeals Associate Justice Jose C. Reyes Jr. May I request Presiding Justice Andres B. Reyes and Associate Justice Kiros Reyes to stay in the holding room while the interview of Attorney Pulido Tan is being conducted. Thank you, Your Honors. Attorney Tan, please occupy the hot seat.
Good afternoon, Attorney Tan. So we will now start the public interview. May I request Attorney Cayosa to start?
Thank you, Justice Gutierrez. Good afternoon, Chairman Tan. We interviewed you in 2014 on your application for the same position. The circumstances under which you applied at that time so different now. At the time, you were still chairman of COA. Given that you have now vacated the position of COA chairman, do you think that your chances of being shortlisted and appointed are better now than you had? You were shortlisted on June 30, 2014.
Your Honor, thank you for the question. I don't think it's really so much a matter of my chances getting better. I was shortlisted the last time, but I was not appointed. But I would say that I think that I'm in a better position now to aspire for the position because I am free. I mean, I don't have any employment, and whereas before I was, as you said, still the chair of the Commission on Audit, and if I had been appointed then, I would have had to resign my office. Now I am retired. My term of office as chair of the Commission expired in February, and I've been keeping busy, both as a lawyer and as an accountant with other engagements which are not really permanent in character. So I would say that I am better prepared to be appointed to the court this time around.
Thank you, Chairman Tan. Now, let me take this opportunity to first inform you that after you were shortlisted on June 30, we received an opposition to your application, and I think that it would be good to give you a chance to respond to it. If the Secretariat has not given you a copy yet, then we will direct the Secretariat to give you a copy of the same. It's actually two complaints, one by a certain Uriel Borja, who is an advocate for affordable and reasonable electricity rates. I think it's a former state auditor of COA. And another one, also a belated letter, and the council will give you 5 days within which to respond to the opposition should you wish to do so. And earlier this morning we had some Twitter questions, and I'd want to adopt one of the questions and modify it a bit. It has something to do with transparency and accountability, and it's relevant to your position as former COA chair. Do you believe that requiring transparency in the budget and expenses of the judiciary would compromise its independence?
I don't think so, Your Honor. when we talk of transparency, I think what we mean by that essentially is that it is open to public scrutiny, and also so that the public would know where this particular allocation would be is intended for, what it is intended for, and where it will be going. So I don't think that it compromises the integrity or independence of the judiciary in any way. I think that right now that is what we have in the budget. All the items of expenditure are itemized and so presented in the public document, first in the NEP, which the executive submits to the Congress, and then the appropriations law, which the Congress subsequently enacts.
A related question, this is as regards the allowances provided by the local government units of certain areas. What is your opinion, with respect to the issuances of allowances to judges and even justices in the stations of the Court of Appeals in Cagayan de Oro and in Cebu? Do you have any objection to this?
Your Honor, during my term as chairman of the Commission on Audit, we did get some letters regarding this matter, but we thought that it was outside of our audit jurisdiction to make a policy statement because the law in fact allows it. But as a matter of policy, I think that it has to be reviewed because there have also been cases where the judiciary was conflicted in a sense. For example, there would be cases against a mayor and people were telling us from the field that wala pong kapanapanalo ang kabila dyan kasi si mayor, not only because he is mayor, but also because they hold the purse, at least insofar as the allowances of the judge is concerned. Now, this is not to say that we found them to be true, but these are things that we heard from the ground. And for whatever it's worth, I think it has to be reviewed because that kind of talk alone already impacts the judiciary in a negative way. So whether there is in fact a danger or an evil to it is one thing, but the fact that it is spoken about in such a manner, I think, has to be addressed.
Well, the judges actually welcome it since it is an addition to their
Yes.
meager income. Of course, there is the concern with respect to their ability to remain independent and to make impartial judgment. Would you have a proposal or a counter proposal to ensure that, if there are available funds so that they would be entitled to allowances without compromising their impartiality or independence?
Your Honor, I think that the allowances can be sourced from a new item in the budget perhaps, or from some other legislation that can accrue to the benefit of the judiciary, the judges in particular. I'm thinking along the lines of, say, the excise taxes on cigarettes, like whatever a certain amount there, I think the full amount is, a certain amount is going to be set aside for health. And maybe some kind of a legislation along that line could be pushed in the Congress for the judiciary.
So you want less discretion on the part of the LGU officials?
Yes.
Okay. Now, there's another issue with respect to this time the legal profession. You now are connected with the UN, and ASEAN integration calls for globalization, including the practice of law. What are your thoughts on accepting foreign lawyers into the legal profession in the Philippines? Do you think that this should also be regulated, and how?
Yes, Your Honor, I do think so, in spite of the agreement to integrate. And there are two ways, basically. One is to admit them into practice in the Philippines, but only for the law of their jurisdiction. Say, if a Malaysian lawyer wants to practice in the Philippines, he can do so, but he can only practice Malaysian law, because I would think that there would be, corporations who may wish to be advised on Malaysian law, and they can have that kind of service in the Philippines. The other, of course, is full integration, where the foreign lawyer is admitted to practice law in the Philippines, including Philippine law, and I think that should be he should be subject to the same, at least to the same supervisory authority of the Supreme Court, as we are. I mean, as Filipino lawyers are.
With respect to some jurisdictions, they allow law offices to incorporate and, in fact, to have shares of stock. Our current legal profession only allows professional partnerships. Do you think that part of globalization should include the possibility of the legal profession being incorporated?
I think it could work, Your Honor, but insofar as the Philippines is concerned, for as long as the ubirimi fide that we talk of when we talk of legal practice through partnerships is paramount, I don't think a corporate setup would do, because it's so impersonal and liability is just so limited. But I'm sure that there could be a way by which we could go that route without compromising the personal faith and confidence that every client could have with his or her lawyer of choice.
Thank you, Chairman Tan. My time is up, and good luck. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Justice.
Thank you so much, Attorney Cayosa. May I request now Attorney Mejia to continue the public interview.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Chairman Tan. You have been interviewed in the past, and in fact, you, if memory serves, got a unanimous vote for your shortlisting. So I was inclined not to ask any more questions, but it's very seldom that we have a candidate who is a tax expert. So let me just limit myself to maybe one or two questions related to tax. I want to know your opinion on whether or not our present tax structure needs reform.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in what area do you suggest that we reform our tax system?
First, on the structure, because we have a very complicated system. It's not really simple. And also on the rates. I think we have, it's true that we have one of the highest income tax rates in the Philippines, both personal and corporate. Of course, sometimes we forget that at the end of the day, that is so whittled down by all the exemptions or the deductions that are allowed under the law. For example, if I may just illustrate, even if the corporate tax rate is at, say, 32%, at the end of the day, the tax base gets so eroded by all the deductions that 32% is really nothing. So in that sense, it's not so high, but it is not applied in that way. So if we just go on the nominal rates, yes, we have very high rates. And studies all over the world have shown that that is not conducive to a voluntary tax compliance system. And so our tax system is forced to be coercive in some way to be able to collect. The other, in terms of the rates, are the graduation of rates. For example, I think right now we have the highest at 32, but that is already imposed on individuals who have a net income of at least 500,000. 500,000 these days, Your Honor, is not really much. So if we think of that as the top rate already, how much more the bigger percentage of our working class who are squeezed in the middle? They are really paying so much more. And the third one is perhaps we should rethink the gross income tax system on compensation earners, like perhaps most of us here, where we don't get any allowances for deductions, but only personal exemptions. Vis-a-vis individuals who are engaged in trade or business, they can have, they can claim a lot of the deductions under the law. So there is really a disparity in the way that these two systems are concerned. Of course, the Supreme Court has previously ruled many, many years ago that that is constitutional, but perhaps it needs rethinking and revisiting at this time.
Are you suggesting that we shift from the so-called scheduler approach to the unitary approach without having to discriminate between the kind of taxpayer that will pay the tax?
I think that makes sense, Your Honor, because by experience, Hong Kong, which is very progressive, I mean, it's a financial center, and the standard of living of the people there are quite high. It's a very simple system, 15%, and that's it.
Because that leave so much room for deductions or those
Right.
up.
Yes. Also, Your Honor, the temptation to really lower, minimize by using all its deductions is there. But if you have some kind of a unitary rate like what Hong Kong has, and I think by experience it has shown that it works. So perhaps we should look at it more closely.
My final question, which is also tax related. This imposition of value-added tax on homeowners association dues, I'm not sure if there is already a case questioning it, but what do you think of the legality of that particular imposition, considering that VAT is imposed on the sale of services and goods in the course of business?
Your Honor, with due respect, I don't know if I should answer, because if I do get to the court, that question might arise. But let me just say that long before I even thought of applying for the Supreme Court as a tax practitioner, and I have to disclose this, I think I have taken the view that it should not be subjected to value-added tax, because it's a very passive kind of income. I'll not even call it income, of an inflow of revenue that is for the specific purpose. It's like a membership due, actually. So, I mean, what kind of service is there? Your Honor.
That's all. Thank you and good luck again, Chairman Tan. And thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Attorney Mejia. May I request Attorney Guevara to continue, please?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, Chairman.
Good afternoon.
I just heard that the last time you were interviewed, the members of the JBC unanimously included you in the shortlist. So I guess I'll just have to limit myself to just a few more questions, additional questions. Chairman, in your opinion, what is the present image of the Supreme Court to the general public?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that, please?
In your opinion, what is the image of the Supreme Court at present to the general public?
If we go by the surveys, and they come out regularly, I think that it is respectable, although it could be better. And I think that there has been quite a great improvement in the last 3 or 4 years from the image before. But as I said, it could be better. Setting aside the surveys from where we sit, because we do our rounds. Also, I mean, we as members of the legal community, of course, it's the object of jokes and derision, you know. I mean, I think all lawyers would know this, and even us lawyers would sometimes joke about these things as well. And it's not it's something that I think we should work on better to improve the image of the judiciary. I think that the goal should be that every little person should be able to say that, Korte Suprema yan, dyan ako sasandan. I think that should be the goal here.
Is this kind of image of the Supreme Court dependent on the composition of the Supreme Court?
Your Honor, I don't think it's really a matter of the composition of the Supreme Court. I think that the problem, if I may call it that, is not so much in the High Court. We hear more of that about the lower courts. So it's not so much the Supreme Court. I think it's when big cases are decided one way or the other that the Supreme Court inevitably gets into the thick of things. But otherwise, yung pang-araw-araw po na usapin, kung hindi po tungkol sa Korte Suprema, kundi sa akin pong naririnig sa mga lower courts, yung MTC, yung RTC. And I think that the reason for that, Your Honor, if I may continue lang a konti, is because these are the ones that are really so close to the people. So yun ho talaga yung kanilang napapansin at nararamdaman.
Well, in the case of the lower courts, one of the most significant issues being raised is the issue of corruption. So you're saying that this kind of problem is not a real problem insofar as the highest court of the land is concerned.
I think that the Supreme Court has had its share of accusations of that sort, and a lot of it in the lower courts. Ang mahirap po kasi, ang daming nagsasalita o pinag-uusapan yung corruption, pero wala naman pong lumalantad. So parang we're always, and I would say we, kasi kasama din po naman ako abogada po ako, and we're always under a cloud of doubt, a cloud of suspicion, but no one is really coming up with strong evidence or with competent evidence, credible evidence. So that is where the credibility of the courts are being insidiously eroded. So I think that veering away from that image, repairing that image, and doing something about it really should be one of the more urgent agenda of the judiciary.
Having said that, and now that you are seeking a position in the Supreme Court, is there any personal or specific agenda that you are bringing into the court to address that kind of image problem, or talks, or reports, or rumors?
Ang paniniwala ko po mulat sa Paul is we always lead by example. So yung modeling, yung pamumuhay ng ating pong mga judges ay napakahalaga. I mean, the kind of life that they lead, because yun ang unang-unang nakikita ng tao, lalo na po sa mga maliliit na bayan at mga probinsya. The other thing also is, I think that there is a great deal of computerization going now in the courts. And while decisions only of the Court of Appeals, Court of Tax Appeals, and up, of course, up to the Supreme Court are being put on the web. Siguro po, maganda na maski yung mga desisyon ng mga nasa baba, the RTC, especially yung mga nag-i-issue ng TRO. Siguro po pwedeng ilagay din natin sa web para the people can also see what the basis, can read the decisions for themselves and make a basis. Kasi nangyayari, pag nagka-TRO, kung sino yung lalamangan, parang kaagad yung lumalabas na bayaran yan. And there's a way by which that kind of talk spreads and takes root. But if the ordinary people can have access, bakit nga ganun naging decision niya, siguro mas medyo nakikita natin, no? And so ma-address natin kahit paano how the public would perceive the judges. On the other hand, I think that it will also help the judges be a little more careful. Kasi alam nila, lalabas na yung kanilang, magiging public consumption din yung kanilang mga decision. These are just random thoughts, Your Honor, that I don't think that right now.
Yeah, because present when there's a case pending in the lower court, and someone wants to, let's say, get a copy of an order or a resolution, or a copy of a pleading for whatever purpose, unless that person seeking a copy is not a party to the suit, he or she will most likely not get such a copy of any order or resolution to which he is not a party in that case.
Yeah.
But in your suggestion, you're opening the whole case, okay? Whether it be probably a private matter between A and B, and a decision is rendered, then it will be open to everyone who might have an access to a computer.
At least po yung decision, resolution, yung order, ganun.
Probably maybe on selected cases, like for example.
Yeah, I think we can start with some pilot basket of cases that will lend themselves more easily to this kind of disclosure, public disclosure.
Chairman, I noticed in your personal data sheet that you're connected with the ADB as international consultant until December of 2016, so until the end of this year. And that you're a member of the UN Independent Audit Advisory Committee till December of 2016 also. And that you are an arbitrator at the ICSID. This is the International Center for the Settlement of Investment Disputes, am I right?
Yes, yeah.
Till June of 2021. So in case you're fortunate to be appointed to the Supreme Court, are you saying that you will have to give up all of this
Yes,
very
Your
lucrative professional engagements?
Your Honor, yes, but let me just perhaps say a little bit of each of them. The UN is a committee. The Independent Audit Advisory Committee is a committee that is not compensatory. We are considered international public servants, so we serve gratis. They only take care of our airfare and per diem when we have to go there to attend meetings. The committee that I am with now is composed of 5 members, one representing each of the 5 geographical divisions. I think I was nominated by the Asia Pacific member states, and so now I represent the Asia Pacific member states. And ADB is an intermittent, it's a project, one project, and it's intermittent. It is until December of 2016, but it is not an everyday kind of employment. I'm on call, and I attend meetings every now and then, but that's about it. As for ICSID, I was nominated by the Philippine government to be in the panel of arbitrators. So I'm parang, my name is there just in case somebody would want me to be a member of an arbitration team for a real case. But until that happens, I'm not really doing anything here.
Right. You were chairman of the Commission on Audit before, from 2011 to 2015, and I remember that there had been a lot of high-profile findings, cases that were uncovered by the COA during your watch, during your chairmanship. And it is possible that many cases will arise from these findings and find their way up in the Supreme Court. So, should you be appointed in the Supreme Court and this thing happens, how will you handle a situation like that?
If the rules so require, Your Honor, I will inhibit. Definitely I will inhibit in cases that were decided during my time, because cases decided by the Commission proper are directly raised to the Supreme Court on certiorari.
Yes.
So I suppose definitely that's clear to me. I will inhibit here.
Madam Chairman, did you return to private law practice after your stint with the COA?
Not really, Your Honor. Only I'm involved in only those 3 matters now that I stated. The UNIAAC, my consultancy with ADB, and I have a new consultancy, World Bank, but it's only for 15 days, so that doesn't matter. And the exceed, but exceed is practically not going anywhere. I mean, not moving at this time.
So you ceased to have any connection with the law firm of Tan and Venturanza, I suppose?
I have long since, I have ceased connection since 2002, Your Honor, when I was appointed Commissioner of the PCGG. The only connection I have is my husband, but that's on the personal side.
I see. Now, 2 complaints or 2 oppositions were mentioned earlier by Commissioner Mitoy here earlier, and the other one, pardon me, did you find any occasion to respond to the complaint of a certain Arturo Besana?
Your Honor, not in the context of not in the course of my first application with for the position, because it did not come to my attention. But I will not be surprised that he made an opposition, because has always been at our backs, at my back in particular, while I was in the Commission on Audit.
Do you have a copy of his opposition? Would you like to reply to that opposition if given a copy?
Yes, Your Honor. I think Her Honor Cayosa said that I will be given 5 days. Yes, Your Honor, I will do that.
Okay. That will be all, Madam Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Attorney Guevara. May I request now Justice Lagman to continue.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Chairman Dan, good afternoon. You are considered as an expert and highly respected in the field of taxation, revenue operations, as well as audit, of course, being the former chairman of the Commission on Audit. At this point in time, are you prepared to handle criminal cases, labor cases, civil and other special cases which are within the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court?
Yes, Your Honor. I started handling all those types of cases, but along the way, I got specialized in tax, corporations, securities. I did a lot of labor work in the early stages of my career. I did a lot. I did some litigation work as well. So these are not new matters to me, Your Honor, except that, and by the way, even as at least while I was in practice, even while I was concentrating on tax and corporate issues, I was actually doing a lot of pleadings, reviewing pleadings that included, that were of civil and criminal litigation.
Okay. Now, I would was reading your PDS, and it seems that you have a limited practice. Okay. Now, are you familiar with the problems confronting the court now, most especially in the Supreme Court, like delay in the disposition of cases, alleged corruption being committed by some of its members and personnel? Are you familiar with those problems?
We hear about them, Your Honor. We read about them. Yes.
So you read about them. So if you will be fortunate to be nominated and appointed to the Supreme Court, what would you suggest to address this problem?
Kagaya po ng nasabi ko po kanina, siguro yung pinakamabisa para sa akin as a person would be to lead by example. By that I mean we live within our means, and we're not ostentatious, we're not decadent and all that. I mean, it's what the people see. Yeah. To live simply for me is a good way of showing that the judiciary cannot be infected or cannot be corrupted by allegations merely of corruption. You know, it's a living institution, and if we are able to show them that we can be as competent and we can do our work the best way we can, even if we live simply, for me that's a good way. And I also mentioned that yung pong mga decision maski ng mga lower courts, siguro po pwedeng ilagay na rin po natin sa web para yung ating pong mga ordinaryong mga mamamayan makita din po nila kung saan nanggagaling yung mga desisyon o bakit naging gano'n ang mga desisyon ng mga magistrado sa ibaba.
It's now in the web. Anybody can.
The lower courts?
The Supreme Court.
The lower courts. I mean po the lower courts.
Yeah, not the lower courts. Okay. Now, and at this point in time, how do you update yourself with the latest trends in the law, most especially those cases which I mentioned, like criminal cases, civil cases, and other special cases?
I continue to read po. My youngest son is in first year of law school at the UP. So, dalawa kaming estudyante ngayon sa bahay. I really, because we discuss, and I have to read the cases he's reading so that I will be on the same page as he. My other son is in Harvard Law School also, and every now and then he emails me the readings that they have. So, may mga trends, yung mga ganito. Nag-sit-in din po ako minsan sa klase niya sa Harvard. And I teach at the UP College of Law, except that I asked for a 1-year break from my retirement. Sabi ko, hindi pa ho ako handa dahil gusto ko medyo makapagpahinga. I take teaching very responsibly. It's very hard work, so siguro ho by next semester I'll be back in teaching again.
Okay. At this point in time, if you will be nominated and appointed to the highest court, what challenge or challenges do you expect to encounter in the performance of your functions and responsibilities as a member of the court?
Yung pang-araw-araw ho siguro yung traffic.
The traffic, but not in the court.
Sa korte ho, I suppose the challenge would be to be able to prove myself. I mean, na humabol po sa wisdom ng aking mga daratnan, and to be able to work with them well, to be a part of a team like the 15 member of the Supreme Court. I think that this will be the challenges.
So, considering that we have interviewed you only in 2014 and we have interviewed you extensively, now my last question, Chairman, is can you give us one strong reason why we should again include you in our shortlist?
One lang justice. Because I'm fit for the job and ready for the job.
On that note, I have no further question. Thank you and good luck. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Justice Lagman. And so, this will be my first time to interview you, Madam Chair. Only 2 questions or 3. Why do you want to join the Supreme Court?
Nung una ho, inisip ko, abogado ako, parang the apex of one's career as a lawyer is to be a member of the Supreme Court. I still believe that. But more than that, I think I am of an age and of sufficient exposure and experience. I have done public service before. With all humility, I acknowledge na nabiyayaan po ako ng talino, ng maayos naman po na pagtatrabaho. And I'm 60 years old now. I would like to be able to use all these blessings, these opportunities that have been given to me in the service of the country. Because I would still have another 10 years. Parang kung makakatulong po ako sa pagiging justice, I would certainly welcome that, and I'd be so humbled by the honor and the privilege.
I like to hear those words, to serve the country. I think that should be the primary reason why you want to join the Supreme Court. And the second question, Madam Chair, is considering your outstanding credentials, especially the fact that you're a tax consultant, your work experience, what do you think will be your greatest contribution, fresh, new, to the Supreme Court in terms of jurisprudence?
Siguro po sa tax, tsaka sa corporate, in these areas, kasi po ito yung naging practice ko ng medyo masinsinan. No? But more than that, I would like to think that I will bring to the court the same enthusiasm, the same dedication, and commitment to an excellent public service as I had in the past.
Well, additional question. I cannot help myself but ask this. I heard, in answering the question of Justice Lagman that you have been updating yourself, especially in civil law, criminal law, and others. Well, if you are already a member of the Supreme Court and you are the ponente of this case, how will you decide the case of Grace Poe?
Justice, with due respect, ay baka ho hindi appropriate na sagutin ko yan, baka...
Off the record ito. I just want to know if you are really updated.
Justice, I will
Off the
have
record.
I will have to plead that I do not know all the facts, except for what we read in the papers, but that is not equivalent to a pleading. But I can give you my assurance that whatever it is, I will decide it on the basis of the facts, as I am satisfied them to have been proven, and on the basis of applicable law. So, makakasiguro po kayo, yun po ang gagawin ko.
The question is, how will you decide?
With great independence and with great...
Is he a natural-born Filipino citizen?
Justice, I will need the facts to be able to make a decision. Kasi ho, yung mga nababasa sa dyaryo, hindi ko alam kung yun na nga ang facts. Kasi iba naman po siguro
In
yung
fact, is he a
submission nila sa
foundling?
court.
Admitted. On that scoreline, can you not decide? By defining the constitutional provision. who is a natural-born Filipino citizen, she is a foundling. You cannot yet decide. You cannot be a ponente right now.
I'll be a student, Your Honor.
Well, I cannot force you anyway. How about the issue on EDCA? If you are the ponente, is it constitutional or not?
Again, we will have to see the facts here, Your Honor.
How about same-sex marriage? This is very easy. Relying on the Constitution and the Family Code.
Kung sa same-sex marriage, a man and a woman po yun, justice. If I remember my persons correctly, the institution of marriage is an institution between a man and a woman, so they are two different
Is
sexes.
provided by the Family Code.
Yes, there are two different sexes. Being a man is different from being a woman, so...
But the American view is different.
Yeah,
Of course, did you read the decision of the US Supreme Court?
sparingly justice, and I think that there was a big backlash on that. Pero yun lang daw ang batas sa Amerika. So,
The ruling of Justice Kennedy was based on the equal protection clause.
yes, Your
Can you
Honor.
apply that?
Exactly. I mean,
If you are a member of the Supreme Court, can you apply that?
Well, when
Because all Filipinos are equal. All Filipinos enjoy the same rights, privileges, benefits, protection, etc. There should be no discrimination. Marriage is a fundamental right under our Constitution.
Yes, yeah.
Can you also argue along that line when you become the ponente?
Justice, nahirapan nga po akong intindihin yun yung concept na yun. Kasi we also know...
So it needs further study. Okay, I understand you.
Diba? Kasi yung equal protection, meron din po tayong mga concept on substantial distinction, di ba? So...
Classification.
Classification, oo. Kung na-classify yung man at saka yung woman, I mean, there are just so many nuances that
But
I think...
can you
that has to be-
discriminate against the four classes of individuals involved? The transgender, bisexual, the gay, and the... Who is the other one?
LGBT? LGBT? Yes, yun po yan.
Lesbian.
Yes. Lahat naman po in terms of basic
Lahat yan
human...
Pilipino.
Apo, lahat yan meron.
sila, di ba, entitled to equal protection law. The right to enter into a contract. A marriage is a contract. And to enter into a contract of marriage is a fundamental right of everybody. How is that? So that is debatable. I leave you that. Thank you very much,
Thank
Madam
you,
Chair.
Your Honor.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Salamat.
Is Sandigan Bayan Associate Justice Alex L. Kiros.
Good afternoon, Justice Kiros. I hope you are well prepared to answer all the questions of the members. Okay, so please sit down. May I request Attorney Cayosa to start?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, Justice Kiros.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Yes, we have interviewed you several times before, but let me just pick your brain and find out your thoughts on some of the issues affecting the legal profession and the judiciary. First of all, do you feel that, do you believe that the compensation of judges and justices of the judiciary is sufficient? Or should the government increase the salaries of the members of the judiciary?
Should I use my yardstick, I would like to say there should be an increase. Well, how much should a judge having an average of 3 children and that the tuition fee of those 3 children will have at least from 80 to 120,000 per annum. That's 3 school buses, and then their daily subsistence, including the expenses of the couple, the parents, I mean.
But when you apply to become a judge or justice, you already know how much compensation you'll be getting.
Yes, Your Honors, I was so fortunate because, modesty aside, I inherited so much from my parents. So, insofar as I'm concerned, I don't have any problem, but I would like to speak for and behalf of the majority.
Corollary to this, some of the LGUs provide an allowance for judges and justices. Are you in favor of this?
No.
Could you tell us why? Why not?
First of all, whether we like it or not, it would one way or another influence the relationship, or even might create a sneaking suspicion to other litigant lawyers agreed by the LGUs. So, without awaiting perhaps a remedy, the question, may I now suggest a remedy, which I already submitted my position paper then to the Supreme Court, that if possible, at least a station will have a retention of 5% of the JDF that have been collected by that station, so that the same will be used within the station. That's
Okay, but wouldn't that also be arbitrary? Because in some stations, there's 0 cases filed. So they may not enjoy the same benefits as other judges in other stations that have a lot of cases filed, and therefore JDF would be higher.
Yes, I agree with it. But just what, say, I would like to compare it in Bataan, where I came from, and the NCR, say, in Makati. Well, the judges, the requirements of the judges would require more than the judges stationed in Bataan. That's it. Because during my incumbency, it's still, should there be a bulb to be replaced, I have to go to the Supreme Court. My station is merely in Pasig. I am now imagining, what if my station is in Bataan? Perhaps the transportation might be cost higher than the necessity.
On another topic, specifically on ASEAN integration, one of the effects of ASEAN integration would be to liberalize different practice of professions, including the legal profession. What do you think should this be regulated, the practice of foreign lawyers in the country, and how should it be regulated? And what would you propose if you become a member of the court for the regulation?
Well, of course, just like at present, the practitioner is being controlled and regulated by the IBP. Perhaps we will have another body that would be the one to control it. How should we control? First, there should be a requirement as to the updating of their laws, as well as the, if possible, the ethics. Okay, that these foreigner and us, vice versa, or in our counterpart, to have an arrangement insofar as the culture and what are the laws to be followed, and there are perhaps some conflicting laws applicable between countries, such as one country might be imposing that penalty, while in the Philippines, we held in abeyance the imposition of that penalty. That's it.
With respect to regulation, we were thinking in the lines of the limitation that is going to be imposed on lawyers, foreign lawyers, such that, for instance, they would be limited to practice their own law. So, for instance, a Singaporean can only give advice with respect to Singaporean law and not be allowed to appear in court. So it's a very limited practice. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, initially, I will agree with that. But perhaps due to a growing education and because I always maintain the dynamics of a law, that it must adapt to the necessity as it is being required by the time, Your Honors.
Should we be pressured by reciprocity? In Singapore, there is no limit as to what a foreign lawyer can engage. In fact, like they're very open. They're very open to all aspects of the profession.
Well, I would like to think insofar as its economic impact as to the law profession, as well as what would be the ethical effect among lawyers locally and foreign. That's why those, I think, although I agree to have that regulatory body, but as to the specifics at this time, perhaps there's a need to study more on that point.
My final question, Justice.
Yes, Your Honors.
What were your thoughts when you learned that your colleague in the court, Justice Ong, had been dismissed from the service?
Well, first of all, the decision of the Supreme Court, as it was penned by Justice Gutierrez, it gives us a sounding lesson to be upright and and you have to follow the judicial ethics, as well as the restrictions imposed for every magistrate from the first level court up to the highest court. That standard. But personally, having known Justice Ong, perhaps about 1985, when we were been together at the City Fiscal of Manila, well, personally, that's life. My feeling is just the same. He's a colleague, that's it.
I mentioned, it was my last question, and we have extensively interviewed you before, so with that, I wish you luck. Thank you, Justice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you so much, Attorney Cayosa. May request, Attorney Mejia. It's your turn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon again.
Yes, Your Honors.
Justice Kiros, this is the 8th time that we're interviewing you. So I will just ask the questions that were tweeted earlier, and some of which were asked other candidates. What's your religious belief, and does it affect your disposition of a certain case?
I claim to be very religious. Every day I go to Mass. However, as I have learned from the teaching of the Church, give to Caesar what is due to Caesar, and give to God what is due to God. One proof is, perhaps I might be a presiding judge who have imposed death penalty for several times. Not once, not twice, but about 12. So we have to distinguish our faith. And if my faith will contradict a law or being a magistrate, I have to resign. But for the meantime, though I practice my faith, I still maintain I could separate my religion from my career, Your Honors.
Does greater transparency in the judiciary compromise, including its budget, compromise independence?
I would like to answer it. Transparency meaning how should the court spend its money, but it might, should it be that way, it might sacrifice its independency. However, I still maintain that our judicial system or our court is being run honestly. So there's nothing wrong for me. But transparency, should it amount to a restrictions or limitations in the exercise of the court of its judicial function, I will disagree. But would it not hamper the efficiency of the judiciary, then there's nothing wrong, as long as it would not limit or impose restrictions on the judiciary, Your Honors.
For my final question, again, this is a tweeted question. Do you think the JBC has effectively depoliticized the selection process to the judiciary, and what reforms, to your mind, are required?
Well, I would like to answer it. Should I compare the GBC to a commission on appointment, I would opt to choose JBC because traditionally in the commission on appointment, political horse trading play. Here, it's due to a Filipino tradition. We cannot avoid some little favor. Sometimes it is your professor, sometimes it's your fraternity brother. Wherever you go, a Filipino has its own character, has its own good character as far as I'm concerned. So, reform, perhaps, no offense meant. I would say, I hope I'll not be offending somebody, the renewal of the appointments of the member of the JBC. JBC members, should I suggest, should only be appointed once, just like the COMELEC, the COA, to maintain its integrity and to avoid a suspicion that there is a political horse trading between the member of the JBC and the one who is going to reappoint that member, Your Honors.
Well taken, Justice Cruz, Justice Kiros, and good luck. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Attorney Mejia. And now, may I request again Attorney Guevara to continue.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, Justice.
Yes, Your Honors.
Justice, I'd like to find out your purpose in seeking a position in the Supreme Court,
Well,
considering that this is the first time that I'm interviewing you, sir.
my purpose, Your Honors, I mustered the courage to apply to this position due to my vast experience. I started my career when practically I was newly a lawyer. I started it with the prosecution, okay, and then later on, upon request of Speaker Mitra, I went also to House of Representatives for a while, and then I joined the OSG. Then from MTC up to my present position. Now, modesty aside, I would like to think seldom I would see a lawyer in this career having an experience as a solicitor at the same time as a prosecutor. I would always see a former PAO and then a prosecutor, but not necessarily a solicitor. So, with humility, I would like, I feel I have to grow. I have to grow because of my exposure. I have a chance to have an oral argument before the Court of Appeals or even to the Supreme Court for a very limited, but I have that. And again, if my memory will serve me right, I don't have a backlog. I don't have a pending. When I was elevated to RTC, I think my pending in MTC is merely 60 or 50. When I was elevated to Sandigan Bayan, I think it's below 50. I don't have any backlog. Now, I have a zero backlog. So, I would like to think, it seems, there seems to be, well, although I graduated from MLQ, I don't have that good grades, but the judicial wisdom coming from my experience, I claim. So, I decided to apply to this position, Your Honors.
So I understand that that is your principal consideration for applying with the JBC for possible selection, your professional advancement.
Yes, Your Honors, and beside it's my dream to be at the Supreme Court, if God will permit me.
Justice, you mentioned that you have a zero backlog. And I also noticed in your personal data sheet that, well, according to it, you have a 99% affirmance of your decisions. Is that correct, Justice?
Well, it came from our database, Your Honors. I don't. That's why I was also surprised. That's why. Most of us, okay, would like to have a speedy disposition of the case. I tried, but sometimes you also take into consideration the quality of a decision. Okay, so should there be an affirmance, I believe what I might have rendered is a quality decision. There might be some other judges that they work past than I am, but I would like to think of their affirmance. And I learned a lot from the legacy of then Chief Justice Fernan, who introduced the continuous trial, as well as to use the preliminary conference and pre-trial, wherein the judge would always participate in the simplification of issues, as well as to limit the number of witnesses to be presented. Those are material matters supposed to be done by whoever is the presiding justice or presiding judge of the court. Your Honors.
Justice, could you name one or two major cases that you penned or decided that probably became a high-profile case or landmark case of the Supreme Court?
Well, I would like to think this is without necessarily having I think in the case of the member of the Abu Sayyaf, wherein the private complainant or the victim was an American, the decision there is conviction for a plain life imprisonment without imposing death penalty. Why? Even the U.S. Embassy, the DOJ prosecutors have asked for a while, Judge, is that correct? Because the information states kidnapping for ransom. I just tell them, go ahead, go to the Supreme Court, because you read it carefully before you complain. The same as being affirmed by the Supreme Court. That is, I remember now, Robert Schilling is the victim. During another thing is the probate of the will of ex-President Marcos. In that probate, my resolution appointing two administrator was affirmed in toto by the Supreme Court. That is somewhat unusual, because in my resolution I suggested to have an appointment of one of the heirs to be named by the Marcos family and Undersecretary of the DOJ to be named by the Secretary in order to protect the rights and claim of the Philippine government. The same is being affirmed by the Supreme Court, Your Honors. But at present, high-profile cases, we have before, when I was still a junior justice, I participated in the case of Enrida. Now, Congresswoman Liachon, and the case of General Sani Rason. And I know at this time they're filing an motion to avail of their bail, Your Honors. Those are, to name a few.
Yes. Justice, you mentioned, pardon me if I understood you correctly, did you say earlier that you imposed the death penalty several times before when you were a judge?
Yes, Your Honors.
Because at that time, of course, the death penalty was still in the law books, meaning it's something that can be imposed.
Still effective, Your Honors.
In other words, Justice, if there is a move in the future, in the near future, for the restoration of the death penalty, you'll definitely oppose it if your comment or recommendation is sought.
Yes, Your Honors, I still maintain that. To initiate that penalty, I will not. But to agree to imposition of that penalty, I agree, Your Honor.
Justice, I'd like to propound this question again because these two of our earlier applicants have tried successfully to evade answering this question. So I'd like to find out whether you'd be courageous enough to offer an answer. Hypothetically, the facts are undisputed. Person is of age. He is born under the 1973 Constitution. He is admittedly a foundling, biological parents unknown, and he is running for the presidency. Would he be qualified on the basis of whether or not he is a natural-born Filipino citizen?
Actually, the president, I will answer that, Your Honor. I am very, have that guts. Although I might be deprived to participate if I'll be lucky to be a member of the court. But may I have your indulgence on this matter? Because before I have my bar in 1983, I talked to Justice Bito regarding this question. Sir, a Filipino natural-born citizen joined the Navy and then consequently became a U.S. citizen. Upon retirement, he went back and seek the advice of a lawyer. If you are the lawyer, supposing this is a question in the bar, if you are the lawyer, could he run as member of the National Assembly? The Constitution states that a member of the National Assembly must be a natural born. But Justice Bito did not answer me. What he asked me, Alex, ano ba alam mo? Well, it's because of this, sir. There are two schools of thoughts. In accordance to Justice Roberto Martin, it says, a natural-born citizen must have that citizen by birth without performing any act. So therefore, naturalized. He could not be a member of the National Assembly. While Justice Mendoza claimed what he reacquired is his former status. Justice Bitok suggested to me, should you answer that, you go to the third paragraph. I submit, and then it's up to you then where to argue, the first or the second. Now, I will now answer. Since I now matured, I would like to say, because at that time, I was about to take the bar, since I am now matured, well, I would not use the word legally speaking. I use the word constitutionally speaking. Sad to say, that Filipino Navy, should I use my example, who reacquire his citizenship is disqualified to run because being or acquiring, performing an act, it would constitute the specific definition of a naturalized. Even assuming further, Your Honors, should that Filipino citizen, this is my view, because the opinion, should I be at the Supreme Court, even perhaps the dual citizenship law, should it be assailed, whether it's constitutional, I would say it's not. Because under the Constitution, there must only be one allegiance.
Justice, that is not my question. My question is about a child whose parents are unknown, foundling.
Okay. Well, if in my limited knowledge, because I think we could, or I might base it in the 1930 Hague Convention, one of the section there, if I'm not mistaken, section 14 of that convention would state that a foundling must have a citizen, but not necessarily to be a natural born, where that child being found. Section 15, I think, if my limited memories will serve me right, would say the country where is the foundling was found have that way or system to determine what kind of citizenship he or she must be. So, I would like to think it might not be the Philippines, because the Philippines is through our true blood. Other country through territory. Just like in the States, where you're born there, you will be considered natural born. So, in the case of Grace po, notwithstanding she is a Filipino citizen, she could not still be considered a natural born citizen.
Thank you, Justice.
May I still add? Because we've been so specific about it. The problem in that case is there is renunciation. That's the problem. When she reacquired the citizenship, she falls now to the definition of naturalized, even assuming she could be natural born. Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Attorney Guevara. How about Justice Lagman? Do you have questions for him?
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. As stated in the records, we have interviewed Justice Kiros several times already. I think I only have one question for Justice Kiros. If you are a member of the JBC, what would be your criteria in selecting the nominees for the post of Associate Justice of the Supreme Court?
Well, first of all, should I be a member of the JBC and I wish to have a quality composition of the Supreme Court, then I will use that such my examination and evaluation. First, my first priority is to look into the integrity of that person. 2, work attitude perhaps. 3, competency, and the competency perhaps might be also likewise be coming from the experience. Because are we not talking JBC screening the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court? Now, because the member or magistrate of a Supreme Court is not isolated in decision making. There are likewise so many administrative matters to be taken by the member or the magistrate. One of which is the how to what are the necessary procedures to be amended, or what are the steps to have an efficient. So, the nominee must have full of experience so as to know what are the requisites, not necessarily to have an academic excellent, because I still maintain that experience is still the best professor. So, a well-experienced applicant will have, just like me perhaps, have an edge. And then, work attitude, and Those are the qualities. Perhaps the leading qualities are three: qualifications, integrity, and then competency. Your Honor.
No further question. Good luck, Justice Kiros.
Thank you, Your Honors.
Thank you very much, Justice Lagman. Just one question.
Opo, yes.
Give me 2 or more decisions decided by the Supreme Court wherein you could have dissented if you were already a member thereof.
Well, although I'm no longer there in that division, in the Enrile case, Your Honor, because first of all, based on my experience, there are so many trial judges being sanctioned to be removed from office for granting a bail without hearing. But taking into consideration sometimes, especially a petition to post bail filed by the accused movement, supposed to be the presiding judge or magistrate must always be aware the conduct of hearing must be summary in nature. There are so many things to do it. I cannot. At that time, I would like, because the plunder case at present, the plunder case, the prosecution is trying, because summary nature, the prosecution should only show the evidence of guilt are strong. But in this case, no more. They are as if they are presenting the evidence in chief. So it will really take long. Now, I'll give you one concrete example. I asked the prosecution to give the list of witnesses. I noticed, for example, but no, this is not example. I noticed, just like in the case of Liachon, I asked the prosecution, who is this representative from the House of Representatives to be presented? Your Honor, he will testify that accused Liachon is a congresswoman. My goodness. Let's ask the other party. Do you deny that the accused is a congresswoman? The answer is no. So my point, the presiding judge should they only participate actively, it will lessen the burden of everybody. Okay? Now, the reason why I will dissent to the case of Enrile, first of all, humanitarian reason is, I could not find it in the rules of court. I'm sorry to Manong Enrile.
You are correct. I agree.
Likewise, the age, because if we will follow the doctrine of res ipsa loquitur, the medical records, since I have seen the records of Manong Enrile, well, I think PGMA is more worse of her situation. So she should also be given same chance. However, I noticed in the case of Manu Enrile, I noticed that they're asking something which perhaps might open the door of the Supreme Court to revisit the rights of the accused in the presumption of innocence. Because normally, should there be a non-bailable offense, they have to file a petition. Why could I might able to suggest this? Why could we not reverse it? The prosecution will prove that the guilt of the accused are strong before we deprive a person of his right to bail. Which these are two things to be balanced by a magistrate. Just like speedy disposition against quality decision. There is compliance for the first and second level courts of 90 days, but the quality been sacrificed. In the appellate court, just like in the Sandigan, as much as possible, we would like to make it 1 year. But the problem is, I do not expect all situations are equally situated now. So those are the things to be balanced. Now, insofar as, because I read a lot with regards to the case of Senator Enrile, they might be asking something correct, but procedurally not correct. Number one is that that way. Number two, they're really asking as if a bill of particulars. During that trial, I even mentioned to both of them to be more specific as to what kind of evidence to be presented. Okay? But the problem is, I cannot be a defense counsel for Senator Enrile. I could not neither go with the prosecution. They should pick it up from there. Now, that's the problem of the present pending cases before the Sandigan Bayan, because the almost all division allow the prosecution to present their evidence by way of opposition to the petition to post bail by offering the entire evidence. So it's unfair, supposed to be. I think those are the things. But should you now limit the prosecution, they might brand you as if you are depriving them to present the evidence that might cause the granting of the bail. So you have to balance, Your Honors, the things that to be considered. But going back, Your Honor, I will dissent to the Senator Enrile as well, because it surprised the judicial community, Your Honors.
Because the grounds relied upon by the Constitution are not provided for by the Constitution or the rules.
Yes, Your Honor, and besides, there must be a hearing.
There was no hearing yet, and the prosecution was not given a chance to present its evidence to determine whether or not the evidence of guilt is not strong. Anyway, thank you very much, Justice. So, we wish you good luck.
Thank you very much, Your Honors.
Next to be interviewed, Your Honors, is Court of Appeals Presiding Justice Andres B. Reyes Jr.
Good afternoon, Mr. PJ.
Afternoon po, ma'am.
Okay, so let's start. May I request Attorney Cayosa to start?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon,
ma'am.
Presiding Justice Reyes. We have extensively interviewed you on several occasions in 2012, 2014, and I just have one question because I know that you are making a lot of inroads with respect to your the improvement of the systems in
Yes, ma'am.
in the Court of Appeals. I just want to find out how much importance do you give to making sure that you either maintain or elevate the ethical standards of the employees in the Court of Appeals?
Well, most of the letters that I receive from people complaining about our employees, on the same day, I endorse them to our ethics committee, who would conduct an investigation on the letter. If it is an investigation that was filed with the OCA, I would not interfere in that, and I would just respect the decision of the court administrator regarding that complaint in that office.
What if it involves a complaint against a member of the court, an associate justice?
I refer it to our ethics committee also. And it's the ethics committee that will conduct the investigation, and usually they're asked to make a comment, and then the committee would make a recommendation to me. But most of them are complaints filed directly with the Supreme Court, so it does not really go to our ethics committee.
That's in terms of addressing perhaps complaints.
Yes.
But in order to, prevention is better than cure, they say.
Yes.
So in order to ensure that the highest standards are maintained in the court, do you have, I know that you are, with respect to gender issues, you're very active because you often request one of our officers to regularly conduct training. So I was thinking in terms of prevention, or at least reminding, by way of a reminder to the employees and even to the members of the
Yes,
court.
I keep telling the employees to work for justice, work for the people, to work hard and be efficient for the people, because this is our public obligation as a public trust to work for them. I keep telling them to work hard, sipag kayo, you come to office early, and let's do this. I also tell to the justices that they have to work hard and they have to maintain ethical standards also.
You would agree with me that ethics would include not just with respect to the profession, but also to their personal lives. So,
Yes.
what is something that you help ensure that their morality is untainted, and that they maintain a good moral standing in the community?
Yes. Well, I personally, I don't attend parties that much. I would go to church every day, try to maintain that moral standing. I avoid going out with lawyers, and every day I don't really go out for lunch. I just stay in the office, and I try to say this to all my colleagues, that I just stay in the office all the time because I don't want to go out for lunch, and just stay in the office so that there's no reason why they will talk about me being seen in a hotel or outside.
So, in other words, unlike gender issues, there really is not, other than what you stated, and your efforts, your personal efforts, is there not an institutional program that would encourage high moral standards and ethical standards among the employees?
We do it, I would call the justices once a month sometimes, and we will discuss present problems, and I tell them, ito, you have to learn from from this, you have to do this, you have to learn from this. Because every month I call for the chairman separately, then I call for the senior member separately, and I call for the junior member separately. And every time I'm not remiss in telling them that, oh, let's not do this, this is coming out from the newspaper, like that. So I would tell them, oh, ito, ano nangyari, ganyan. So let's be careful, let's avoid that, let's do this. So I always tell them that. Yes.
Well, it's good to know that you are proactive in that sense. If only to eradicate whatever notion there is in the public that TROs can be sold in the Court of Appeals, and that that the members of the court are actually beyond reproach, and that you maintain the highest ethical standards.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, so that's all, Justice. So, Mr. Presiding Justice, so I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Attorney Cayosa. And now is the turn of Attorney Mejia, please.
Also, just one question, considering that you have interviewed you in the past, PJ Reyes. Can you just update us with respect to the status of your pet project, the Zero Backlog project of the Court of Appeals?
Yes. Right now, in the Court of Appeals, we have last year we received 11,000 cases, and we disposed of 13,000 cases for a net surplus of 2,000 cases. And we have done that for the last 5 years, since 2011. When I came in, we focused on really finishing all the old cases. So last year we had a net surplus of 2,000 cases. Of those 2,000 cases, we have a total of 20,000 cases right now. And for the completion stage, I would say that 80% of our cases are 2 years old, which means that they were filed in 2014 and 2015. For the submitted cases for decision, it's about the same amount, about 80% were submitted for decision. In fact, for 2015, our submitted cases for decision is about 75%, and another maybe 10% for 2014. So all in all, our old cases are only about 10 to 15%. And looking at our old cases, especially on the completion side, most of them are pending matters with the Supreme Court, or they are pending matters that are covered by the RTC in connection with Rule 47, which is the annulment of judgment, which we can delegate to the lower courts. And there is the delay there in the lower courts when we ask them to hear a trial for annulment of judgment.
So I said that's my only question. Good luck again, PJ Reyes, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Attorney Mejia. May I request Attorney Guevara to continue?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, PJ. Justice, as presiding Justice of the Court of Appeals, do you think that the CA presiding justice has a preferential right for appointment to the Supreme Court?
I would not want to say that. I wouldn't want to say that. I think I'll say no comment on that. But I have been presiding justice since 2010. I'll be the longest presiding justice by June of this year. And when I applied for presiding justice, I promised the JBC that I will work very hard as a presiding justice, and I think I have followed that promise to the letter to the JBC. I work hard, I go to office before 8, and I leave after 5:30, and I frequently go to Cebu, Cagayan de Oro, and from upon entering the office right away, I work right away until I finish everything that has to be done for the day.
Just for my information, Justice, have there been occasions in the past where there were several nominees from the Court of Appeals, including the presiding justice, but a much junior member of the Court of Appeals was the one appointed to the Supreme Court position?
Yes, there have been instances.
Is that a frequent occurrence, PJ?
It happened with Justice Estela Bernabe. It was, but at that time it was only 1 year as presiding justice. So I think the JBC said that maybe you stay longer as presiding justice. So I was not considered then. I applied during the time of Justice Sereno when she was appointed, and I was only 3 months as a presiding justice. So then I also did not really heavily campaign for that, because I felt that was only presiding justice for several months when the vacancy occurred in June of 2010 when President Pinoy assumed.
Justice, in your opinion, thus making an appointment to the Supreme Court partake of the nature of a political act?
It's a political act because the president, as an elected politician, is elected leader of the country. So it is part of the political powers of the president to appoint people in the judiciary.
Would that be the same as saying that apart from the usual considerations of integrity, competence, etc., there are other possible considerations in making a political appointment to the Supreme Court?
Well, I don't think there's really politics involved in the appointment. It's just that the act is really a political power. But I'm just saying that perhaps the president would lean towards people he would know, lean towards people that he has known the family or from the same school or from the same kind of environment. So, but there's no politics to that. I feel there's no politics to that.
All right. Justice, having worked for many years in a collegial setup like the Court of Appeals, and considering that the Supreme Court is also a collegial court, and given the fact that in many of these situations or these scenarios, there are a number of personalities, very strong personalities, sometimes conflicting personalities, some domineering type, etc., etc. How do you handle situations like this?
Well, I handled 68 justices in the Court of Appeals. So I would, if I become a Supreme Court Justice, I think I would just follow my conscience. I think I would set aside friendship or camaraderie with other justices and just do it on the high road as I'm doing in the Court of Appeals. I frequently have to make hard decisions for the good of the office, and I just have to take the high road, because it's the best for the office. So I will just do it also in the Supreme Court. I just follow my conscience. I do what is right for the country, for the rule of law. Even if they are my friends, even if they're my classmates, or they come from the Court of Appeals, they come from Sandigan Bayan, I would treat them just as equals, and we will have to respect each other's decision, and I will just follow my conscience. I'm 65 now, and I don't want to bend my conscience now that I become 70, I think in the next 5 years. I just want to be at peace with God and the rule of law and the Constitution.
Having said that, Justice, how would you deal with so many influence peddlers in our midst?
Well, I'll just have to say no to them.
Do you have any personal advocacy that you might bring to the Supreme Court in case you're nominated and appointed?
Well, my advocacy in the Court of Appeals has been efficiency and of course, cleanliness of the building, cleanliness of the court. I also like to see a computerized court really functioning. I would like to see all cases of the court of the Supreme Court be handled and be disposed of. I think giving life to the rule that justice delayed, justice denied, it will be good already. As long as we try to finish all the cases so that people who have cases don't have to wait 10 years, 5 years, just to have their cases finished. And that's what I have been trying to do in the Court of Appeals. I keep appealing to even the law clerks and the staff that people have their lives hinged on a case. It may be only a case to you, but for other people, it's their life, it's their livelihood, their property. That is part of that case. So I keep telling them, please, if that's an old case, let's finish them, because we have to help these people, because their lives cannot move on because they're waiting for these cases to be finished. So that's what been my line to the justices, and so far they have swallowed it and have their advocacy now of trying to dispose of all the old cases.
Justice, we have interviewed a number of very, very competent and very qualified candidates or applicants for this loan opening in the Supreme Court. So I'd like to ask you, what in your opinion would be your distinct edge over the other applicants?
I think we're all the same. I think we're all competent. I think it's up to the President to determine who is better. But I've been administering the Court of Appeals for almost 6 years now. I've been the longest presiding justice. So I've worked with almost 100 justices of the Court of Appeals, including those who have retired, and I cannot say I'm better than the others. I just promise again, as I promised before, that if I become appointed to the Supreme Court, I work to the extent that you'll be proud of your decision to nominate me to the Court of Appeals.
Justice, I'm just taking a look a while ago at your personal data sheet, and I just got curious about something quite personal, and I hope you don't mind. 3 persons here were listed as, 3 names were listed as your children, but name of spouse not applicable.
Yes, I'm single.
Could you kindly...
Yes, my marriage got annulled almost 20 years ago. So I am single. Yes.
All right. Okay, I understand now. And you were a member of the Fraternal Order of Utopia.
Yes.
When you were in law school, Justice.
Yes.
So
yes,
one of the applicants whom we interviewed had a very strong negative feeling against membership in a fraternity, especially in a law fraternity. So if one of your children would express a desire to go to law school, especially or particularly in the Ateneo, would you recommend that he likewise join the same fraternity that you join?
Well,
or to be a member of any fraternity at all?
Actually, my son is going to LaSalle now for law school. That's why I promise you I will take the high road, because I don't want to be embarrassed for any case or anomaly when my son is in law school. So I really take the high road. He on his own joined the fraternity without my encouragement or my direction. He attended the fraternity. I don't know why he joined the fraternity. My theory is that he is 11 years younger than my second son. So I guess he would need some brothers to be around, because at the house he's the youngest and he seems out of touch with these 2 older brothers. So that's why I felt that's the reason why he joined the fraternity.
I have no further questions, Justice. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Attorney Guevara. And now, Justice Legman, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I stated before that I will no longer ask questions. I will no longer question PJ Reyes because we interviewed him 5 times already since 2007. However, I feel that I want to put on record your answer to this question. Aside from the zero backlog and the visible improvement of the buildings and facilities in the Court of Appeals, what other achievements can you claim as presiding justice of the court?
Well, there's a lot.
Yes.
So there's so many.
Yes.
Yes. Last year we disposed of, for the first time in 50 years, we disposed of all the records of the Court of Appeals.
Yes.
They were burned, and that happened for the first time in the Court of Appeals. For our budget, when I came in as presiding justice, our budget was 1 billion.
1 billion?
Yes, now it's 1.5 billion pesos.
1.5?
Yes, I was able to campaign with the DBM and the administration for the increase of our budgetary needs. I gave importance to our employees in the Court of Appeals. When I came in, I never reshuffled anybody. Nobody was replaced, nobody was demoted. I gave them all a new life, and there was no upheaval or any reorganization I did, nor did I issue any kind of memo, whatever. So I gave them all the respect, and I allowed them to grow as persons, to be head of the various offices in the Court of Appeals. We increased our medical benefits from 50,000 to 100,000.
Wow.
In the Court of Appeals. We have a database now of all our records. I have a listing of all the decisions of every justice on the Court of Appeals from the time they were appointed up to the present. We have everything. We have, of course, our computer program, which is being now in essence, being the platform of the entire judiciary computer system. Last year, I invented a new system. By the way, in a raffle, I also put in a auditor in the raffle committee now. So now there is an auditor watching over the raffle.
Is that auditor also a justice?
No, he's from our internal audit.
Okay.
And then for our inventory, because I would ask them to make an inventory and they will tell me this is the inventory. So eventually I was not satisfied with written reports. So I came to the idea asking them to take photographs of each record. So I call this picture inventory. And when you take the picture of the record, beside it is a newspaper of the same day. So I would know if they tell me there are 400 cases in the bodega, I will ask them to give me 400 pictures of those cases with the newspaper attached to it. And this is very inexpensive because a cell phone can be already a camera or a webcam on the computer's camera. So it is very cheap. We don't have to spend so much money for taking pictures. And same time, we know that the record exists. So that if in case that record would get lost, we would know the appearance of the record. And we would know that it was last seen on that day when they took the picture. So at least we'll be able to trace where it is. And we had plenty of changes in our JRD, in our clerks of court. We're was able to get appointments for computer operators from the DBM, so we were able to do that. And then I have weekly meetings with our all our department heads. And I think there are a lot of innovations that I have done. But in all these years, I have been quiet. We have been slowly just doing reforms without really advertising our office. We just low-profile reforms, which I feel is just because we are not here for any popularity. We just work hard. We really don't make known our achievements in the Court of Appeals.
Okay, I'm just wondering, with all these achievements, with you as the head of the Court of Appeals, and as PJ of the Court of Appeals, you have the same rank as an Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. Why do you still want to leave the Court of Appeals as where you are the head of the 68 Associate Justices and go to the Supreme Court where you will occupy the lowest rank in the ladder as the most junior member? I'm just wondering why you want to still transfer.
Well, my grandfather was a Supreme Court Justice.
Yes.
And my father became presiding justice. My father was one of the very few who stood out against martial law. I think there were only 3 justices who stood out against martial law. My father was one of them. So he was never promoted during the time of the martial law regime. So I'm just trying to seek some justice for him, to be able to at least reach this pedestal step in his honor. And actually, I already honored him by being a presiding justice and doing my best to live up as an ideal Elijah. But for me, it's just to vindicate my father, because he was one of the very few at that time who really spoke out, even in the court, even in the office, against martial law. He and Justice Tihagi were the two who really was against martial law.
So you want to reach the Supreme Court in honor of your father, late father?
Yes, and I hope that, as I promise you, I'll take the high road. I'll do my best for our country and for the rule of law.
Okay. On that note, I have no further question and I wish you luck.
Thank you.
PJ Reyes.
Thank you very much, Justice Lagman. You answered a while ago that your marriage was annulled 20 years ago.
I don't remember exactly when, but I think that was 2002.
Oh, more than 20 years.
2002, I think.
50?
13.
13 only.
13.
Why did you not get married again?
Answer the question.
It's my sole question.
You answer the question.
Yes. I don't know now. Before I had a girlfriend and nothing came out after that. Then I had another girlfriend that we quarreled. And then I had another girlfriend, then we quarreled. But right now I don't have a girlfriend, so I don't know how. I don't know, but right now I'm still looking and dating, so that But maybe when I get promoted, maybe that's the time I'll get married. So I don't. It's I'm married right now to my job. Actually, I'm married to my job. I enjoy being presiding justice. I get a praise from my colleagues, so that makes me even happier. I even work harder when my colleagues would tell me that you're good, you're doing well. So the more I work hard, and so that's right now. I'm just happy with my position, and I'm happy with where I am. But of course, as I said, of course, nobody will deny that they don't want to be promoted.
Thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Justice Reyes.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Please settle yourself, and then we'll start. May I request Attorney Cayosa.
Thank you, Justice Gutierrez. Good afternoon, Justice Reyes.
Good afternoon, Your
We
Honor.
have extensively interviewed you 3 times in the past, in 2011, 2012, and 2014, all for the same position. And so I just have a few questions now. Quite recently, your name was in the newspapers with respect to a case involving an LGU official. And there were allegations made that would affect your integrity as a jurist. What did you learn from that experience? I need not go into the details of the case, but perhaps you could shed some light on how, the situation that you were in and how you managed to overcome that situation.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Are you referring to the Makati incident? Okay. That was that happened last year. And a petition for certiorari was filed by then incumbent Mayor Junjun Binay, questioning the preventive suspension order against him issued by the Office of the Ombudsman. And as a prayer, he requested for the issuance of a temporary restraining order and then a writ of preliminary injunction. And the 6th Division at the time, after a deliberation, because the division is a collegial body, we came out after a judicious evaluation, a meticulous one and impartial. The division issued a temporary restraining order, and the main basis of our actually, after the issuance of the TRO, we subsequently issued, after the necessary hearing, before the issuance of the preliminary injunction. Now, these two injunctive reliefs were based on, at that time, the existing condonation doctrine. And thereafter, after the issuance of these injunctive reliefs, the Office of the Ombudsman went up to the Supreme Court to question the two the two resolutions which were issued. And soon thereafter, sometime November 10, 2015, the Supreme Court affirmed the two orders that we issued. And these are the orders granting the TRO and the order granting the writ of preliminary injunction. And the Supreme Court stated that the two resolutions which directed the issuance of the injunctive reliefs were all hinged or based on cases which enunciated condonation doctrine. And further, the Supreme Court said that by merely relying on existing precedents on the condonation doctrine, the Court of Appeals, particularly the 6th Division where I belong, and by the way, I was the ponente of the case. The Court of Appeals did not act with grave abuse of discretion. And quite emphatically, the Supreme Court, through the ponencia of Justice Stella Bernabe, stated that the writ of preliminary injunction issued against the preventive suspension order of the Ombudsman was correctly issued. So that was the ruling. And just to go back a little bit, so that was the ruling of the Supreme Court, and somehow it effectively vindicated us, meaning vindicated the Court of Appeals. And just to go back a little bit, you know, when the court issued the temporary restraining order and followed subsequently by the writ of preliminary injunction, Senator Trillanes introduced a resolution in the Senate requesting or urging the Committee on Justice and Human Rights of the Senate to conduct an investigation in aid of legislation to look into the alleged TRO for sale in the Court of Appeals and elsewhere. I'm quoting the resolution, Your Honor. Elsewhere, and other alleged anomalies for the purpose of introducing remedial legislation. Now, of course, this was published in the papers, and somehow, as you said earlier, my name was mentioned. It was of course a serious and unfounded allegations, and it hurt me, of course. But Ma'am, I just kept still. I kept still. My conscience was clear. Our actuations were based on existing jurisprudence, which all started in 1992. So, you know, I was confident that we will eventually be sustained. If this case is brought, I said, if this case is brought to the Supreme Court, we will be sustained. And so I kept still, and I even prayed for him. Meaning, you know, I have deep faith in God, so I also prayed for his enlightenment. Para ho lumambot naman yung puso niya at maintindihan ko anong pangyayari. And the Court of Appeals eventually, through the presiding justice, called for the Ethics Committee, but it has resulted in inhibitions of some of the members. I for reasons I do not know. So one member after another inhibited, until finally the presiding justice, Andres Reyes Jr., formed a committee, because the original ethics committee could not function. So he invited some members, and hopefully there were some members of the Court of Appeals who accepted the call of the presiding justice. Now, Ma'am, to date, no comment, no complaint has been filed, nor nor was there an order directing me to comment or to explain the alleged subject matter of the resolution. And in fact, ma'am, there being no complaint, I asked for clearances as required by the JBC, and clearances were issued to me by the Office of the Ombudsman, the NBI, stating that there are no pending cases. NBI and the Integrated Bar of the Philippines that issued two certifications. One as a member of good standing, and there being no pending case. So, and of course, I also obtained clearance from the police. And so, for now, there is really no case. Probably no complaint. Probably there is really no evidence. There's no evidence, ma'am. So that's why I'm not in privy to what the committee has done up to this time, except that no action has been taken. So, with the decision of the Supreme Court last November 10, we all felt in the division, the former 6th division, that we were all vindicated, because no less than the Supreme Court said that the WPI which we issued was correct. It was correctly issued. So for now, as I said, I continue to keep still, continue to pray for him, and I'm at peace. So I think that's about all, ma'am, that I can say.
And that was my only question. So with that, Justice, I wish you well.
Thank you,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Attorney Cayosa. And now, please, Attorney Mejia.
Madam Chair, thank you. That was also about the same question that I was going to more or less ask, and you have articulated very well your answer, and so I don't have any more question, and just wish you good luck, Justice Reyes.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Attorney Cayosa. And now, may I request Attorney Guevara.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, Justice.
Good afternoon, sir.
Justice, I understand that you have been interviewed many times before, several times before. So I just have a few questions to ask.
Yes, sir.
I noted in your personal data sheet that you are a member of the Knights of Columbus. You're also a lay minister and a member of the Couples for Christ. So I can conclude that you're a rather religious person.
Yes, I am.
In your opinion, Justice, should a person without any spiritual belief, or more specifically, a belief in God, be even considered for nomination to a position like the Supreme Court Justice?
Your Honor, there are established qualifications for a particular position. As far as judgeship is concerned, religiosity is not one of the requirements. For as long as a particular applicant has complied with the requirements, either even provided for by law or by the Constitution, then there is no reason why he or she can be nominated and subsequently appointed. But religiosity can also be taken into account, because I'm always of the opinion that aside from the qualities of competence, probity, integrity, the matter of a deep faith in God, or shall I say, the spirituality of a person can help. As I have mentioned in previous interviews, when a person is deeply religious and God-fearing, then it has a tremendous effect on the individual. It affects, there is a transformation in him. It is, for me personally, my being religious has actually been my shield and my strength. Like what happened last year. Probably, if I did not have a deep faith in God, then probably I would have collapsed. As a matter of fact, my staff were even kidding me. Bakit? Meaning, why are you so composed? I say, why will I not be composed? I have God on my side, meaning I always ask God to walk with me in everything that I do. Even in decision making, I pray. I pray especially in important cases. So, as a matter of fact, we were deliberating this important case last year. I prayed a lot for guidance. Even when I was a trial judge, I would always pray. It may not be, religiosity may not be a requirement, but it has a tremendous effect on the individual. That is why, Your Honor, in the Court of Appeals, I've tried to help our personnel, our employees, and even justices and officers to attend gatherings about values formation, because I believe that this can help. It may not be, it may not produce an overnight change, but at least it's a basic step towards, transforming a person, helping a person become a better person. So, Your Honor, I think religiosity can be considered in addition to the existing established qualifications established by law and by the Constitution. It has a calming effect, Your Honor, and it has helped me a lot.
And conversely, the lack of it should not be taken against any applicant.
It should not be taken against, Your Honor, but, because there is always a chance, Your Honor, for this person. Initially, he may not believe in God, or he may not have a strong faith in God, but he can easily be probably touched by prayers and by his colleagues. And that is what is needed now, Your Honor. The judiciary has been under siege, under attack. But I always have the mindset that for as long as we continue to pray, forgive me for being so, empathic about, closeness to God. It is what we need now. In my work, Your Honor, I hope you will be patient to listen to my experience when I was a trial judge. The first time that I was going to promulgate a decision imposing that sentence, I could not sleep, Your Honor. But when I spoke to my father confessor, he explained to me, your job, your position as a judge is a God-given gift to you. For as long as you are, legally certain, you have gone over the testimonies of witnesses and then the evidence, and you are morally certain based on existing guidelines or teachings of the church, then by all means. So from that time on, it wasn't really difficult for me anymore to impose death sentence or life sentence. Although, I don't really believe in the imposition of death penalty. But I believe that deeply being a God-fearing person can go a long way in transforming a person, Your Honor.
Justice, as a trial judge, you also handled family cases,
Family cases, yes, Your Honor. Involving annulment.
including legal separation,
Yes, Your Honor.
marriage. Did your spiritual beliefs in any way get or was factored? Was it ever factored?
Factored in?
Yes, in rendering a decision on the matter of legal separation or annulment of marriage?
Your Honor, I always base my actuations, my decisions based on the law, based on the evidence. But somehow, during pre-trial, I use my shall we say expertise? I don't know if you call it an expertise, but I use my knowledge of marriage in helping the parties come together again, reconcile. Sometimes I would even brag among friends that, I had a high batting average for reconciliation, even the most impossible situations. Konting dasal lang to the Holy Spirit. I don't know, but I was able to somehow. That is how religion would factor in. But on the matter of writing decisions, when the situation is really hopeless, that I could not do anything to help them reconcile, and I go through the process of getting, listening, going to trial, and deciding on the basis of the law and the evidence.
Okay. Thank you very much, Justice. I have no further questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Attorney Guevara. May I request Justice Lagman?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As shown by the records, we have interviewed Justice Reyes for 4 times since 2009 in connection with this application for a slap in the Supreme Court. And we have nominated him twice in 2011 and in 2014.
May I correct?
2014.
2011, 2012.
2011. Is it
I'm
not?
sorry, ma'am.
Yeah.
2011, 2012, and 2014.
2012 and 2014. It's not included in my record. I'm sorry.
I was.
The only thing included in my record is the 2011 and 2014. But
I was,
we've interviewed you in 2009, 2011, 2012, and 2014. Okay. And with that, and considering your answers to the questions propounded by the other members, I find no reason to further grill you on your qualifications. Thank you very much, Justice Reyes, and I wish you luck.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Justice Lagman. Just a few questions.
Yes, ma'am.
I read the decision of the Supreme Court concerning your WPI.
Yes,
And at the time you issued it, you were correct. You relied heavily on the past presidents such as Pascual, Garcia, Governor Garcia Jr.,
Aguinaldo.
Salalima. And then the case reached the Supreme Court, and according to the Supreme Court, the doctrine of condonation has to be abandoned.
Yes, ma'am.
But the Supreme Court luckily did not say that you were wrong, in deciding the case concerning Mayor Binay Jr. But unfortunately, because the reasoning of the Supreme Court in abandoning it is that public office is a public trust, public officers should act with honesty, integrity, etc. And so the Supreme Court has abandoned the this doctrine of condonation, but the abandonment has been made prospectively.
Yes, ma'am.
So I congratulate you on that, because at the time you prepared or you wrote this resolution,
2 resolutions, ma'am.
2 resolutions, TRO and WPI.
Yes, ma'am.
You were correct. So congratulations and good luck.
Thank you very much, ma'am. I'm done. Oh. Thank you very much.
The public interview is hereby adjourned.